Hello and welcome to the Elcom Intranet Health Checks webinar. Today we're going to talk about what it takes to keep your intranet alive and kicking goals. My name is Annette Doherty. I'm the Marketing Director at Elcom. Before I introduce my co-host, a bit about me. Over the last 20 years, I've worked in technology alongside many industries, including health, media, creative, finance and government. Before joining Elcom almost 2 years ago, I spent the last 11 years connecting the R&D community with industry to team up on projects, innovate and commercialize the outcomes. Communication and collaboration to internal and external audiences is part of my DNA. My colleague, Kevin Oliver, is the Senior Digital Solutions Manager at Elcom and for 7 years has focused on building successful websites and intranets on the Elcom CMS platform for clients across a wide range of industries. Before Elcom, Kevin spent over a decade in digital, including online dating icon RSVP, publishing giant Fairfax Digital, award-winning agency Hyro, and multi-channel marketing leader Salmat. Kevin and I are your presenters for today's webinar. If you have any questions during the webinar, please type them into the GoToWebinar panel. At the end, we'll do our best to answer as many questions as possible. Please also follow us on Twitter at Elcom CMS and join in the conversation on social media. The Twitter tag for today is #IntraNetROI. Before I hand over to Kevin, let's take a quick look at today's agenda. First, we will talk about revisiting your intranet objective. It's important to remember why you built it in the first place and what you set out to achieve. Next, we will discuss what to measure and why. We'll look at 5 key areas you might consider measuring and suggest a few metrics for each to get you started. Then we'll cover how to measure and tools you can use to collect the data you need. This is a bit of a mix of science and creativity. And a key point here is to only collect data, in other words, only measure what you can use to drive improvements and change. What you measure needs to align to your objectives and provide the proof that you are meeting those objectives, or not, as the case may be. I'll now hand over to Kevin.
Thanks, Annette. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. A short webinar, so we'll get straight into it. As Annette mentioned, our first agenda item is we're going to revisit your intranet objectives, and we'll clarify why. A lot of time, effort, and resources went into the scoping, building, and launching, and overall maintenance of your current intranet. A living, breathing organism within the organisation. But why was the intranet built in the first place? Now, we understand you may not know. You may have inherited the intranet. There may not have been clear objectives when the intranet was first built. Or your objectives may have changed. They may no longer be relevant. But it's very important when you're measuring something to prove its effectiveness that you go back to the original objectives to measure against them. And so that's why today we're going to go back in time and revisit your intranet objectives. If you don't have access to the original ones, doesn't matter. Today is a great opportunity for you to create a new set of intranet objectives. And this is particularly important for you if you're considering a redevelopment or enhancing what your intranet already delivers to your organisation. Quick side note, if you visit the resources section of our website, you'll find an excellent 6-step guide for developing the intranet business case. There we talk about the ROI and we'll help you with some objectives. But if you're looking for the answers to any of these questions, how well is my intranet performing? What time of day do the workforce access? What content do they look at? And how do I track how good this intranet is and report it to my management? And you'll need to do that to take it to where you want to take it. If you want the answer to any of those questions, you've come to the right place today. But before we jump into the detailed metrics themselves, let's go back to those objectives. To frame our first objective, we've started with a quote, as you can see on the screen. And our first objective is critical, and that is that your intranet objectives must align with your business goals. Ideally, you've got that data as we just mentioned, but if you haven't, don't worry. We can start from here, and we're going to give you some great ideas of how to do that. But to help you in your mind align an intranet objective with a business goal, a quick example. We recently launched an intranet for a client, and on each landing page was customized for each line manager. For example, when the finance manager logs in the morning, there's a set of business indicators, things like unpaid invoices, profit, things that might be pulled out of the finance system. When the sales manager logs in, there's the forecast, there's sales to date, and when the product director logs in, she sees the latest customer issues. What we did there is when one of those metrics reached a certain threshold, let's use the finance manager as an example, if unpaid invoices got higher or greater than $10 or $10,000, whatever you use, then the indicator would turn red. So when the finance manager logs in the morning on the intranet, the first thing that will catch his or her eye is, oh, the bad debts have gone past where we want it to be. The first thing I'm going to do today is get on the phone and organize payment from those clients. So with that example, you can clearly see how an intranet can really deliver value through the bottom line, through improving cash flow. Let me hand over to Annette to look at some more objectives.
Thanks, Kev. The first step in any intranet health check is to first agree with your team and your key stakeholders what's important to measure against a set of objectives that make sense and align to your current business strategy. You need to ask yourself, are your intranet objectives still aligned with your business goals, or do they need adjusting? Do you know what intranet success should look like for your organisation? And do you have a clear set of intranet KPIs that can be measured and managed? For example, you might create a set of KPIs for the following areas. Financial, so with metrics that relate to saving money, such as less travel expenses. Behavioural, metrics that show staff are engaged with your intranet and putting content on the intranet, not the share drive. Attitudinal, proof from social commentary or surveys that staff like using the intranet. Technical, metrics showing improvements to page load times or fewer calls or tickets to the help desk. And experiential, metrics that show staff are finding what they need quicker, getting work approved faster, and spending less time on basic internal admin tasks.
Yeah, this is a great set of objectives that we've got there. And you talked about that first one, aligning with the business goals with our example. We've also included engagement, productivity, collaboration, cost savings, governance, compliance, and culture. These are, one thing to remember is to link these to your business. So these are fairly generic objectives. So have a look at your own business, talk to the key stakeholders, find out what the business goals are for this year. They may change year on year. We put in an intranet last year. The main issue was customer service. The help desk was not responding to calls quick enough. They were swamped. They couldn't find the information they needed. We built a knowledge base within the intranet platform that helped them answer customer queries much, much faster. So have a look at what the challenges are of your own business, then take these objectives and apply them to your business, and then you'll look at how your intranet can help. Before we move on, a quick poll. Annette?
Thanks, Kev. So this is the first of 2 polls we'll run today. I'll just launch that. And the question is, are you currently measuring the value and impact of your intranet? You just have to choose one answer. We'll just give everybody a little bit more time to put their responses in. You can see, yep, sitting at about 50%. We just let it go a little bit longer. Okay, great. So now I'm going to close that and share the results with you. Well, that's interesting. So a significant percent of you are not measuring the value and impact of your intranet. So it's great that you're here with us today. So hopefully you will find this webinar very useful. Fantastic. I think we'll keep going. Kevin?
Yeah, look, wow, over 80% of you not measuring the impact of your intranet. I think that's one of the reasons that we wanted to do this webinar today from talking to our customers. So we've talked about the objectives, we've given you some examples, and again, there's no point in measuring something and proving what it does if you're not measuring it against a specific objective or desired outcome. So we've got those, and now we're going to look at what it is that you can measure. As we mentioned before, it's important that you measure things that you can align with those objectives. Don't waste your time measuring things that are not linked to those objectives. Keep in mind you're looking to measure for a purpose. Some of you may be looking to improve the intranet, to redevelop it, to add functions. You may need to go to your board for resources, financial or otherwise, to do that. To empower you and to give you that business case, you need to be able to measure what you've got and prove that it's having a positive impact on the business. Then you'll be able to get the funding to take it to the next level. Now, when we talk about those stakeholders, it's important to mention you really should engage them as much as you can. Key stakeholders, whether it's taking them for a coffee or sitting down in a more structured environment, but look at your HR director or the HR team, key players and beneficiaries of a living, breathing intranet. IT department, they will have less work to do if the intranet is helping people. Internal comms and marketing, we see a lot more organizations now where the internal comms and marketing people are owning the intranet. The operations team also. So go and grab the coffee, have a chat, make sure you garner their support because there is something in it for them to improve the intranet. So what are we going to measure? Now you see we've picked a list of 5. There are other things here, but the first thing you'll notice straight away is how we've linked these blocks of things to measure, these metrics, back to those original objectives. So we've got engagement, productivity, culture, inclusivity and happiness, governance and compliance, ideation and innovation. Now, some of those are easier to measure than others, and we'll give you some tips on those. Annette, talk to us about engagement.
Okay, yes, so our first set of metrics for measuring engagement. So to clarify, engagement usually relates to staff engagement with your intranet, but increasingly it's about how your intranet can help staff engage across the whole organisation. Modern intranets are fused with the ability to run community spaces, enabling teams to collaborate far more efficiently than by email. It also enables social collaboration, allowing teams to work together and share knowledge right across the enterprise, regardless of location. Intranets help to engage employees, not just through internal communication, but also by driving connections between employees. It gives everyone a channel to express themselves, facilitating flexible working and helping employees in their working day. Many other benefits flow from an engaged and motivated workforce, including enhanced productivity and lower employee turnover. Engagement is one of the most important measures for your intranet. Develop a set of metrics that help you understand usage patterns and trends to improve site optimization. Kev's going to run us through 4 suggestions that might work for you.
So first one, general use. I call this the vital statistics of the intranet. And if you're the intranet manager, I suggest that you try and work out a way of knowing these. You bump into the CEO in the elevator, you should be able to pull out the key vital statistics of the use and impact of your intranet. And what do I mean by those? Things like page views, number of logins per day, time spent on average on the intranet, number of searches, number of policies read, just those key vital statistics. Those are the things you want to measure. Those are the things you need to have in your head and be able to just roll off the tongue when anybody asks you. That's my general use. That's the vital statistics, the pulse, if you like, of the intranet. But you need to dig a bit deeper, and that's when we move into number 2, the content. Which pages are more popular? Which links do people click? Which pages do people spend the most time on? Which teams are reading more content than other teams? What about the volume of content? Where is it coming from? We had a case recently where we did this exercise with a client, and it transpired that the CEO blog, which was taking up a good chunk of real estate on the homepage, was not really being read. Fortunately, it wasn't me that had to break it to the CEO, but it provided an opportunity to change and improve the intranet, and the CEO used a different part of the intranet to communicate the updates. Features and tools. You put a lot of features and tools on the intranet. You've got things like the staff directory that comes with an org chart these days. There's a calendar. There's the social feed. You should be able to measure whether these are being used. For a really powerful intranet, you shouldn't have features and tools that are on there that aren't being used. In the Elcom platform, for instance, it's modular. You can turn them on and off if they're not being used, and use the space and time according to what the measurements are giving you. Finally, what I call user-generated content or user contribution. You can measure the posts and likes and number of forms filled out. So those are 4 key areas for measuring engagement. And we'll move on to the second group of things to measure productivity. Annette.
Okay, so metrics to productivity and cost savings. So intranets with automated business processes can improve your return on investment. An intranet should come with enterprise search, forms and workflow out of the box. It's a save money fact. When used well, these tools can automate many processes, escalate decisions and get stuff signed off quickly, making it near impossible for people to ignore their tasks and deadlines. The outcome is accelerated progress and increased productivity. How? Through visibility. Information on your intranet should be accessible from anywhere, anytime, on any device. Your mobile intranet is the key to closing that next deal, training your staff, auditing compliance, finishing projects on time, and supporting everyone's need to get the job done efficiently. It's important to measure the impact of mobile access by exploring with your staff how it makes a difference to their ability to achieve their objectives.
So we've got 4 examples. Look, for me, if you're looking for budget, if you're looking to prove to the finance team or any other key stakeholders how valuable the intranet is, the productivity and efficiency gains are the most powerful. We've captured 4 examples here. Forms and workflows. Look, I think we probably all know the power of automating the processes within the business using forms and workflows. But I put it there as number 1 because I want you to go back and check it. Here at Elcom, for instance, we're constantly able to convert business processes, water cooler conversations to forms and workflow. Not only does it provide efficiencies by electronically enabling those manual processes, provides a lot of visibility. Our management team regularly run reports on the forms and the requests that have been put out so they can identify training gaps and lift the whole productivity of the company as a whole. So go back, talk to different department heads and have a chat about any cumbersome business processes they think they've got, and then have a think about how you can solve them with forms and workflow on your intranet. Collaboration spaces, this is a bit more difficult to measure. The best way to do it really is just to have a look, have a count of the project spaces or team spaces or collaboration spaces, however you call them. Look to see if they're being used, have a look at the last post that was in there, the last share, find the ones that are currently being used, and then go and talk to the teams. Ask them what the benefits of the collaboration space has been. Do a case study, make it exciting. Talk to a project team that says, oh, you know what, we were able to launch a brand new product to market 3 months earlier because we shared this collaboration space on the intranet rather than using email. Because we got the product 3 months to market earlier, we beat the competition and took the early market, we made $1 million. Go grab the case study. Put the case study on your intranet. So go and have a talk to the people that are using the collaboration spaces. You might find $1 million in there. Number 3 is your site mobile friendly. Look, a couple of years ago, this was people were asking, should we go responsive on the intranet? And we've already done it on the website. We know that. Should we go? And there were a few questions about security and the VPN, and there were questions about award wage staff doing things outside of the hours and how we pay them. But I think that conversation's over now. Most of our clients are moving it, and the productivity gain here is quite simply if Kevin wants to watch a training video on the bus, on his phone, from the intranet, on his way to work, then why should we prevent Kevin from doing that? Because when he gets to work, he's got lots of other things to do. So the productivity there is unbelievable. And not to mention much better access to your field staff. If you've got a lot of field staff out there aren't sitting on PCs all day, we've got a lot of health and hospital clients like that, then a mobile-friendly site's going to be really helpful. The last one I love, email reduction. It makes me laugh because I'm pretty sure for the last 10 years people have been telling me the email is dead, and every time they tell me that, I seem to have more emails the following day. But we're actually seeing now a reduction in email due to these collaboration platforms that are available through your intranet. So there's not just the saving of people's time and the stress of being inundated with email. There are also actual server and storage savings there as well. Go and talk to your IT people if you need some data and some stats around that. So these are powerful one, productivity, efficiency, and cost savings. A lot of dollars in there. So before we move on, over to Annette for a quick use case.
Thanks, Kev. So I included this one taking shape as an example of a productivity game. So Taking Shape is a retailer, and what they've been doing on their intranet through this dashboard that you can see is showing sales targets. And so they're able to measure the direct impact of their intranet on sales revenue. They motivate their staff in store through this dashboard by showing them their sales targets and also the aggregate target for the whole organisation. So by integrating your intranet to your core business systems, you can pull data and present it in an interesting way to your staff so they can see what's going on. Staff really appreciate transparency and productivity will rise as a result. Elements of gamification are also a great way to engage your workforce. Healthy competition keeps people on their toes and more productive, especially when the results of their efforts are promoted across the organisation. Other things you can do is monitor comments on social feeds. This will help you report the impact on culture, the general energy in the business, are people motivated, what's the attitude and the camaraderie. When you find those comments, use the snipping tool to capture them immediately so they're easily on hand to use in your Internet Health Check report. What's next, Kev?
The next metric to measure, to include in your Internet Health Check report is a measurement of culture, inclusivity and happiness. This is a difficult one to measure, but if your workforce is using the social intranet, then you can feel confident that they're enjoying it. This platform helps to build relationships and connections that will improve overall workplace culture and benefit the business as a whole. But how do you measure it? That's the challenge. So you're going to have to do this manually. You have to go and look through the social posts and look through what people are posting. And particularly focus on the happy news measurement. People posting up case studies, people sharing success stories. I've got pats on the back there. A large number of our clients, and if you're not doing this, I'll urge you to think about it, have some kind of nomination of a co-worker that's gone above and beyond to help them out, someone that stayed back or solved a problem. Instead of sending an email to the all at and bombarding everybody, just post up a high five, one of our clients calls it, on the intranet. This will start to build the picture of this culture, inclusivity and happiness for you. Now, I don't know if we've got any social media fanatics in the room, but I'm one of them, and I know that Facebook already does this. For instance, Facebook has an algorithm that can tell you whether, in general, people from Victoria are happier than people from New South Wales. Now, we don't have that kind of algorithm in the Elcom platform, so you are going to have to go and look through those posts. But the outcome and the point of it is the same, is to get a sense of happiness around the workforce. So it's a really important one, challenging to do, but a really important one. Annette?
Well, that was a fun one. So this metric is a bit more serious. This is a metric for measuring governance and compliance. Both, of course, are very valuable. Intranets help organisations to manage risks in various ways, including increasing transparency, standardising processes, providing up-to-date and authoritative information, and alerting staff with important messages. Having a single source of truth reduces the opportunity for making mistakes or acting in ways that put the organisation at risk. Staff need to be able to rely on a trusted source of policies and procedures. For governance and compliance, intranets really are your best friend. Instead of email read receipts clogging up the sender's inbox, you can require your intranet users to tick a box to confirm that they have read that critical change legislation or the health and safety announcement before they can do anything else. Or you can pull off an exceptions report and trigger a notice to their intranet homepage to remind them of deadlines. Continuing with this thought, I'm just going to quickly run through another case study. So Rain & Horn, who are a national real estate franchise, they use their intranet Scout for managing their compliance. So Scout acts as a vital gateway to RH Compass, which is their primary system used by all the agents around the country. So this enables them to direct their workforce towards important information before they can access RH Compass and get on with their jobs. So they have to actually read the legislation and tick box before they can get into that business system. It's a bold move to come between a real estate agent and his commission. Raymond Horn also use agent rankings to motivate. I mentioned elements of gamification before. So they're doing this to create competition across the various franchisees. And this is working really well for them. An intranet with single sign-on and integration puts access to all the software applications your workforce needs in one easy-to-find place. This is another way to make sure the most important information reaches every person. You can read about both of those case studies by visiting the Customer tab on our website. What's the final set of metrics? Yep.
The last one that we've put in here is ideation or innovation. Do you have a place on your intranet for gathering ideas? And how many new ideas or innovative suggestions come via the intranet? Now, look, a good intranet is going to showcase all the talent across the organisation. It's going to really help bring them out. I read an article recently about how introverts are much happier posting and sharing online. That's how they work. So you'll get more from all corners of your organisation if you've got an intranet where they're comfortable to contribute content. But what they can contribute a lot of is ideas. Now, a lot of our clients already have this, but if you don't, I really suggest that you have a look at creating some kind of suggestions box or ideas box, and then you can have it really casual, like people can post in the feed, or you can have a more structured, and some of our clients have the light bulb icon. Some of them have workflows where panels review ideas and then they become projects, and they're a bit more advanced there. But if you haven't got it, start simply. I've seen clients collect ideas from gluten-free biscuits in the staff room right the way through to revamping their customer service software solution. So there's a whole range of things you can do there. Implement it, implement the ideation, innovation, suggestion boxes on the intranet, and then you can use those to measure and take them into your health check report, take them to your management. List of other metrics, I mean, we focused on those key 5 or 6 there, but there are other things that you can look at: number of shares, comments, feedbacks, ratings, which ones you should use. There's a whole discussion on those. You may have a look through your forums and search terms. We'll talk about those in a bit later as well. So there are some other metrics that we've put in there. Now, before we move on to, so we've talked about the objectives, we've talked about what to measure. So before we talk about how, tools to measure this, a final poll. Annette.
Okay, so this is our final poll for this webinar. I'm just going to launch the question to you now. So the question is, which of the following tools are you currently using to measure the health of your intranet? So this is a multiple choice, so you can pick all the ones that apply to you. So we'll just give everybody a couple of minutes to close that now and share those results. Oh, that's actually really interesting. So quite a few of you are starting to use Google Analytics and the feedback forms and surveys, and of course the reports from your CMS. I can see no one is currently using heat maps. We'll talk a little bit more about heat maps later. So I'll close this now and we'll continue.
All right, so how to measure. You've had a quick look at the tools that we're going to go through here in that poll. So let's start with the number one, and this would be what we recommend as well. So Google Analytics. If you're in internal comms or marketing and you look after the internet, you're probably already familiar with this tool. Now, we're not going to go through a step-by-step guide of how to set up Google Analytics today, but there is one available. So you can see the link there. Do click on that or go to the Elcom website and look for the Google Analytics step-by-step guide. Now, Google Analytics is the most powerful tool in our view. It can report on traffic, page use, clicks, location, and it goes so much more deeply into your content. That gives you great insight. But if you're not using it already, a word of caution, do check with your legal department and your IT. There are some concerns around privacy and security. We believe these concerns can be overcome. The technology is there to do that. But do have those conversations. If you need some support from us, do let us know. So rather than go step by step, I just grabbed some reports from Google Analytics so you can see its power. I'm sure you probably can't read that clearly, but the top one, that's the main page. When you log into Google Analytics, it will show you those vital statistics that I was talking about earlier. It's the pulse check. It's items such as page views and number of logins and number of sessions and just that general information there. You've got different graphs and charts and as well as numbers that you can use. Just remember again, when you're looking at these, keep them in the context. 5,000 page views in a month might sound fantastic, but if you've got 20,000 employees, it's probably not so good. I've dug a bit deeper in the second one into the behavior tab, which is access from the left-hand nav. And that goes into specific things. So that's if you remember, we went from general statistics down into the content. That's what this one's doing. That list you can see there under the line graph is actually all of the pages on the internet ranked in terms of number of visits. So, you know, our CEO blog there was down at number 47 or something like that. So that allows you to go deep into the content. And then the third one, I just grabbed it quickly, it's number of active users. You know, it's great if you've got 5,000 page views a month, but they may all be coming from you as the internet manager. So there is an endless amount of insights that you can get from Google Analytics. As I said, if you're struggling internally, come and have a chat with us. We can't guarantee it, but we can certainly do our best to point you in the right direction of how you can be successful using the tool on your intranet. Number two, surveys. And now this is actually a screenshot of an existing client. I've taken off their logo, and you can see on the right-hand side the orange toolbar with feedback. That button appears on every single page of the intranet. So that you could be reading some out-of-date content, you could be reading some content that you find inappropriate, that you could see an error. So the users can at any time click on that button, whatever page they're on, and fill out a quick form. So that's one way of doing it. But you can do so much more with surveys. They're a great way to gather data that helps you measure the effectiveness of all aspects of your intranet. So if you want quick feedback, just do a quick survey with radio buttons and checkboxes. But if you want something more detailed, you can have a paragraph like you can see in front of you. The user can put some qualitative data in there. Consider creating a survey that you're going to use the same one every quarter, so that you can build a baseline and show improvement quarter on quarter of how the intranet's improved. We wouldn't recommend you do it any more frequently than that, as you may end up with a bit of survey apathy, I think Annette calls it, and burnout, where people just either won't respond or they'll just click the first thing to make the screen go away. So use the various tools that are available. A good CMS will have these survey tools out of the box. Our third tool is the CMS report. So a good CMS platform, or a good intranet platform, I should say, will come with a whole range of reports built in. And I've just got a screen up there that's showing you the article engagement report from Elcom CMS. That shows you the engagement with a particular piece of content. You can choose your content there, and then you can go and see number of likes, posts, shared, how many times it's been read. But there are reports now that go further. Number of, how many people have registered for the Christmas party, how many forms have been used. A really powerful, one of the most powerful reports in the CMS is the search report. This will give you a huge insight into how your intranet's being used. You can look for failed searches. And if there's a common one, then you're missing some key content, or you're not using the right words for it. You can look at the most common searches and start to bring that content into the valuable real estate spots on your intranet. So very powerful. Strongly suggest that you put a note in your diary if you're the internet manager to check out the search reports on a regular basis. Now the final one is heat maps. I think, Annette, you were talking about heat maps earlier.
I was, yes. So heat maps are more commonly used on public websites, but there's no reason not to use it on your intranet. Heat maps show you exactly where staff are clicking and not clicking on your site. And with this information, you can then improve your pages to show your workforce what they want to see as a way to improve engagement. You can move your call to actions to make them more visible. You can track the clicks on every single one of your pages, updated in real time. Heat map software is fairly easy to apply to your site, just a bit of code, and fairly low cost. So I've just listed a few examples that you might go and explore. So heat maps is one product name, Hotjar, Inspectorlet, Mouseflow, Crazy Egg, and Lucky Orange. At Elcom we use Hotjar, so great names. But yeah, I do recommend considering use of heat maps. So I'm just going to, as we move into the closing stages of the webinar, just a quick reflection of the steps to follow as part of your intranet health check. So what we've covered off is making sure that you have measurable objectives that are aligned to your business goals. This is really, really important. And then to recruit your various stakeholders to participate in your health check, get them on board, and make sure for each of them and every area of your business you have a clear set of KPIs and metrics for those. And then consider the right tool to collect the data, useful data that you're then going to analyse, and then using that as the proof points for your improvement plan so you can go and pick some new goals. So here's just a quick summary of some key points to consider as you prepare your evaluation plan. Only measure what you can manage and act on. Align what you measure to areas that can add value. Be clear on why you're measuring and use the right tools. Consider who your key stakeholders are and look after their interests. Check with legal before using Google Analytics. Create a baseline study to track change over time. Make sure you choose a CMS that includes all the tools you need out of the box, no paying extra. And keep improving your intranet. Don't let it stagnate. And lastly, involve your workforce, because after all, it is actually their intranet. Also, as part of your intranet improvement plan, backed up by the data you collect, consider how you can enhance your intranet to make it more searchable, to make it more engaging, more inclusive, encourage more participation, make it more useful, improve productivity, make it more accessible by making sure it has that mobile 24/7 access, and making it more personal with more relevant content that's adaptive to each individual. So we will send a follow-up email today with the links to the recorded version of this webinar and other resources that may be of interest. Meanwhile, the resources section on our website has lots of useful and practical content, and please feel free to visit. Now we're going to finish up with the Q&A, and I can see that we've got some great questions coming in there, Kev. So I'm going to pick a couple at random and throw them to you, and might answer one or two myself. We'll see how we go. All right, let's have a look here. So I think obviously Google Analytics is a very hot topic, so I think I'll pick this one. What sort of reports can you get using Google Analytics?
Yeah, look, I'm happy to answer that. I mean, I showed that slide earlier with just 3 high-level reports, but as I indicated, it goes into some real depth, and I'll give you some examples. But the first place you might like to find this answer is that last week we posted the top Google Analytics reports for your intranet. We created a report on that, I think under the resources tab on our website, Annette.
Yes, yeah, the top 8 reports.
So go and have a look at that. Those are the top 8 that we recommend, and that'll give you the best value. But let me give you an example of the level of detail you can go in with Google Analytics. We have a client who is extremely passionate about internal comms and training, and they produced at great cost to the business a whole set of fantastic training videos. These were not videos you put on YouTube. These were specifically videos for training the business. And they put them on the intranet. And of course, when you invest that much in your staff and in the training, you want to know whether those videos are being used. To be honest, the Elcom reporting tool can't measure the exact amount of time someone spends on a page, but Google Analytics can. So with working with our GA expert here, we were able to measure the amount of time staff were spending on the pages where the training videos were. And the good news is that everybody was spending at least 15 minutes, and the videos were about that long, and that was the average time spent, so we know they were looking at them. So just a great example of what you can do with Google Analytics.
Great. Okay, let's have another look at another one, and we've got one here. So I think this is a good one that we've kind of touched on a little bit, but the question is, what if you don't have an intranet plan with objectives to work from for your health check?
Look, yeah, I think we mentioned this earlier as well. You may not have inherited that plan if you inherited the intranet, or if they were objectives, they may be long buried somewhere by now. So we would advise that you create one. So gather your key stakeholders together and actually create a set of objectives for you. But whether you're revamping it or not, whether you plan to do anything for it in the next 3 months or not, if you don't have a clear set of objectives of what your intranet is meant to do, I would suggest that you create one right now. And if you look after the intranet, pop that on your desk, stick it on the wall. I had a client recently when we were implementing the intranet from scratch, actually created a poster of the intranet objectives and put it up next to their desk so that everything we did during the project had to be tied back to delivering on those objectives. So yeah, the answer is definitely start working on one now if you don't have one.
Fantastic. So we've got a question here. I'll tackle this one. It says, what reduction in email can be expected? So again, on our website, there's a guide called 8 Signs You Need a Social Intranet, and it highlights that with a social intranet, you can expect a 30 to 40% reduction in email sends and less frequent checking of the inbox. And we all know we're slaves to our inbox and how much time that wastes. And subsequently less stress because you're not trying to respond to everything in your inbox all of the time. So yeah, 30 to 40% reduction in email sends. I think we've got time for one more question. Do you want to pick one, Kev?
Yeah, look, there's an interesting one here around return on investment and how can I get some hard numbers together. So whoever posted that, I understand the nature of the board that you're working with because we've recently been through this. Look, it is quite challenging, but what I'd suggest is go out to the internet and have a look. There are hard numbers, and this is what I would look for. Look for the amount of time or surveys that show you the amount of time the average staff member spends looking for information. You'll get some stats there, you'll get some reports that you can browse through and you'll have a look. And what you can do is an intranet, you can clearly articulate that an intranet is going to cut down the time that people spend searching for information. There'll be information out there that says a good intranet will save a staff member, let's say it's 4 hours a week, let's say they paid $25 an hour, that's $100 a week per person. Every week, every year, it's $5 grand per person. You've got 20 staff. That's already $100,000 of saving, and that is hard numbers. So that's just an example. There's more out there around the forms and the workflow. Try and do something manually that you've now used forms and see how long it takes you and calculate how much time you've wasted there. So a lot of it is really around productivity and efficiency gains, which can really only be calculated in time saved. But there are others. Annette was talking about governance and compliance. If you send out a copy of the price list and you send out last year's because you're not using the latest version, because you're using the one on your hard drive and a new one's been published to the intranet, then of course you sent out the wrong price list and you could be losing money by people paying less for your product. So there's some great examples. Just have a think. If you need more help with it, come back to us. Contact details on the screen, and we can certainly help you put together a compelling business case with hard figures attached.
Fantastic. Well, look, that's all we have time for today. I hope that you found this informative and lots of practical examples that you can go away and apply. And yeah, as Kev says, any questions, please drop us an email and we'll do the best we can to help you. We will follow up by email and we look forward to your feedback. So thanks everyone. Have a great week.
Thanks everyone. Bye-bye.